that. But while you guys are finishing up, I just thought for the people who haven't been to a Burns night before, not that I'm any kind of expert, this is my first one, but I would try and say a few things that I could from Wikipedia about Robert Burns. He is the national bard or poet of Scotland, and probably means as much to Scottish cultural history and literary history, if not more, than Shakespeare means in England. It's made a way of thinking maybe about how important Robert Burns is in Scotland. Typically the dinner is on his birthday, which is January 25th. He was born in 1759, and he lived 37 years, so he didn't quite make it to the end of the century. He was born in Ayr, Scotland, and he lived in an age when the poem and the lyric were among the most revered forms of discourse and entertainment. So he was well known even in his day. He's remembered today for many of his writings. You may know Old Lang Syne or Auld Lang Syne. We have the lyrics of that in my trusty little binder, so we can sing that later at the end of the evening. A Red, Red Rose, Tam O'Shanter, those are some of his poems. And we have also examples of his poetry, which we can look at. There's a game that we have devised if people are so inclined later involving his poetry, if people want to get to know that a little bit more. He was a liberal, I guess you could call him by today's standards, and a populist in a very conservative time. One of his favorite tropes was poking fun in form of satire at the clergy and the Calvinists, were very serious and conservative. His family were farmers, not very good farmers. It seems like their farm failed and they were forced to move a number of times, but his father had the foresight, and an uncommon foresight, to realize how important education was for his son, and saw to it that he had a private tutor from a very early age, so he was well educated throughout his life, although he never gave up farming and often composed while he was plowing his fields. What else do we need to say here? His style was very often humorous, as we heard in the address to the Haggis. He valued spontaneity and directness in his writing, as well as sincerity, but he also had quite a tender, intense streak to his work. And of course, with those kind of adjectives, we could be describing a whiskey or a wine, so it might not be inappropriate to toast him. I'd like to close with a little paragraph from another Scottish writer, Sir Walter Scott, who met Robert Burns. Sir Walter Scott was 16 years old, I guess, when he met him. And in his diary, he wrote this description of Robert Burns. And I will forego the Scottish accent. His person was strong and robust, his manners rustic, not clownish, a sort of dignified plainness and simplicity, which received part of its effect, perhaps, from his knowledge of his extraordinary talents. I think his countenance was more massive than it looks in any of the portraits. Richard has one there that he's circulated. There was a strong expression of shrewdness in all his lineaments. The eye alone, I think, indicated the poetical character and temperament. It was large and of a dark cast, and it literally glowed when he spoke with feeling or interest. I never saw such another eye in a human head, though I have seen the most distinguished men of my time. Sir Walter Scott. All right, so when people are finished, I guess we'll gradually start clearing, and then we'll make way for dessert. And of course,
Thanks, Brian.